I'm the daughter of a City of Atlanta school teacher. I'm the granddaughter of a coal miner, and we are from Welch, West Virginia, the poorest county in the nation. But my mother loved learning, and she taught me to love learning, and I wanted to be a teacher. And so I was a school teacher in Clayton County. I was at Forest Park Senior High School, and I was shocked. I had students that did not want to be in school, and they did not want to learn, and they had trouble getting along with other people, and they got frustrated, and they just didn't express themselves very well. Although I left teaching and went into law, I never left my children because I went to juvenile court and I volunteered, and eventually I became the judge. And when I'm working in the delinquency cases, I am actually working with the very same children who didn't want to be in school, who got easily frustrated, who couldn't communicate, who couldn't get along well with other people. And I'm like, well, I'm going to have to start earlier than the teen years if I'm going to get them to love learning. So I decided that I would look at the dependency cases, our early cases of abuse and neglect. And what I learned is that the foundation of learning actually begins prior to birth because we parent as we were parented. How our parents care for us, how they nurture us, how they feel about learning matters because it affects our motivation and our capacity to learn. Now, I get to hold the babies. And the one thing that brought home to me this parenting as we were parented is one of my teen moms. I asked her to bring the baby up to the bench, and I'm holding the baby's just beginning to make sounds. I talk to the baby, and I turn the baby around to her, and I say, talk to your baby. And she doesn't respond. So I ask her again, talk to your baby. And she doesn't respond. And I say, what's the problem? And she looks at me with tears in her eyes and says, I don't know how. So I turn the baby around and I get the baby to smile and coo. And I hand the baby back to her. But by this time, I'm in tears because I realize she's not been nurtured. She doesn't know how. And she wants more than anything to be a good mother. Now, her toxic stress was poverty and an alcoholic parent, and it changes the life of our children. They have cortisone levels that go up because of this chronic stress, and they want to fight, they want to run, or they just don't react, they just freeze. This chronic stress changes their trajectory because it changes their body and it changes their brain. It puts them at chronic risk for asthma, diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. And their brains are actually smaller, their bodies are smaller because they are concentrating on surviving. And as a result, they don't get the words, they don't get the vocabulary, and behavior becomes their language. But what matters most to our children who are coming out of these chronic stressors of poverty, substance abuse, mental health, domestic violence, is having a safe, appropriate adult who will meet their needs on a consistent basis. And when a child's needs are met on a consistent basis by someone who loves and nurtures them, they can self-regulate. Now, I see children daily who cannot self-regulate. That's my job. I got a call from a school resource officer asking me to detain a kindergarten child. I'm not going to let that child be in cuffs and put in the back of a police car. So I said, bring the child over, bring school staff, call the parent. I brought everyone into court and I asked the mother, what's going on? This child is running across tables and kicking children in the face. Where is this behavior coming from? And Mom says to me, I have no idea. I knew immediately that was not the truth. But we focused on the origins of the behavior and it was domestic violence. And we had to create an environment of safety, and then we had to teach that child internal regulation using external regulation, and then he could go into his classroom and he could sit, he could make friends, he could learn. But what happens to our children who don't get those services for their behavior? We have a choice in this country and in this state. We can raise our children up and we can build up our state and our nation by giving them access and education to overcome the very, very serious stressors in their lives. Or we can raise this country and this state by putting children out of school because of their behavior. This pipeline to prison has to stop. We can't. We cannot deny children access to education because of their behavior. When we do not understand the origins of the behavior, we concentrate on educating the child and changing the child when the child isn't ready to learn. If a child is not safe, if a child is not nurtured, if a child is not secure, they're not ready to learn. What we lack is a holistic system. We don't seem to understand that when we are dealing with toxic stress with the child's behavior, that it's really not the child that we need to just concentrate on. We really have to look at our families. Our families are in need of services, not just the child. As long as we continue to just educate the child and not look at the family, we're never going to change anything in our system. What is very important to understand after doing this work for 20 years is that chronic toxic stress actually plants the seeds for mental illness and for substance abuse. But we can change that. We can actually plant the seeds for mental health. And the way we do that is we make certain that our children have access to services at every point. We look at our Part C services when they're infants and toddlers. We have early Head Start and Head Start for them as they are entering our education system. We use our special education services as they become available. But more importantly, we change the system that we have right this minute that says we have no mental health services. We can't serve children under the age of 7. That is not true. Children can have child-parent psychotherapy. They can have play therapy. They can have child-parent interactional therapy, and it will change the dynamics for that child. It will change the dynamics for that family, and it will allow that child to have what that child needs to come to school and be able to learn. But we can't get a child healthy and still have mentally ill parents. So when we build our system for child mental health, we also have to build it for our parents and our caregivers. You are our leaders. You make decisions at the legislative level, at the judicial level, at the executive level, at the budget level, and you have a choice on how you are going to invest. And I am asking you to remember that we in Georgia are leaders in early education. Let's raise Georgia. Let's raise America. Let's educate all of our children regardless of their behavior. Let's not raise America and tear it down and tear down Georgia by putting children out of school because they have impaired parents who don't meet their needs. Education is their only opportunity to escape an environment of extreme toxic stress. And if we love our children, if we nurture our children, if we care about our children, if we educate our children, then we can provide them a safe and appropriate future, not only for them, but for all of us. And I urge you, I absolutely beg you and implore you to please educate all of our children. Thank you.